Okay, so let's talk about success. Many of you have probably heard of Carol Dweck's book, Mindset. Maybe you've even read it. But today we're aiming to go a bit deeper than just the usual summary. We really want to dig into how these ideas play out, sometimes, without us even noticing. What if the biggest barrier to your success isn't really about talent or luck or even having the right resources? What if it's just, well, the way you think about things? That's the really powerful idea, the life-changing core of what we're exploring today from Dweck's Mindset, the new psychology of success.
Right. And our goal here, our mission, if you like, is to really unpack this framework. How we look at challenges, how we deal with failure, how we see opportunities. We want to help you get a really solid grasp on achievement, intelligence, growth, give you tools you can actually use by looking, beyond just the surface of Dweck's work.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The central idea, the big one, is that Dweck introduces these two really distinct ways of thinking, and they shape pretty much everything. So first up, there's the fixed mindset. What's that about? It's basically the belief that your qualities, intelligence, talent, personality, they're just fixed, innate. You're born with a certain amount, and that's that. And if you think like that, then failing at something, it doesn't just feel like a setback. It feels like proof you're just not good enough, Which naturally leads to avoiding challenges. Why risk looking bad, right?
Yeah.
Better to protect that image of being smart or talented.
Exactly. And then, in complete contrast, you have the growth mindset. People with this view see abilities differently, not as fixed things, but more like muscles. Things you can build, develop through effort, through practice, through learning. So for them, failure isn't the end of the story. It's not defeat. It's actually valuable information. It's feedback. It tells you what you need to work on. It's just a step on the path, really. It sounds simple when you put it like that, doesn't it? Fix versus growth. But it feels deeper sometimes. Like, does Dweck talk about why we fall into one or the other? Is it hard to actually change? Because it doesn't always feel like just deciding to think differently.
Oh, absolutely. That's a great point. It's not like slipping a switch. She definitely emphasizes that. It's more of a journey. It often starts with just becoming aware of that inner voice, the fixed mindset voice she talks about, the one telling you can't do it. And remember, this isn't just, armchair psychology. Her work is built on decades of research, really interesting studies, especially with kids, seeing how they react to difficulty, how praise affects them. It shows how these mindsets get formed early on and how deep they can run. So yeah, the distinction seems simple, but its impact, it's huge. It touches everything: school, sports, relationships, your career, even how you parent.
Yeah, and the examples she uses really drive that home. That's what made it click for me, I think. It's not just theory. She shows it in action. Like with famous athletes, it challenges that whole born talented myth, doesn't it?
Totally. Michael Jordan is a classic example she uses. We think natural talent, right? But the book points out his insane work ethic, how he worked relentlessly on his weaknesses after facing setbacks, getting cut from the team, things like that. He wasn't just gifted, he actively cultivated his skills through effort. That's pure growth mindset. And she gives other great examples too, like teachers. Those who praise the effort kids put in, not just telling them you're smart. Those kids tend to become more resilient, better learners. They're not afraid to try hard things.
And it scales up too, right?
Yeah.
It's not just personal. She talks about businesses. Companies with that growth culture where it's okay to experiment, maybe fail, learn from it, they tend to adapt and innovate.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas companies stuck in that fixed mindset, where everyone's afraid to mess up or admit they don't know something, they often become rigid, fall behind. Sometimes they just collapse.
And the way she writes about it, it's so clear. It doesn't feel like you're reading a dense academic paper. It feels more like a conversation, a guide.
Which leads us to the practical side, right? Okay, we get the difference. Now what? How do we actually use this?
Yeah.
One of the key takeaways Dweck wants us to really internalize. Well, one of the biggest is reframing failure as feedback. And she goes beyond just saying it. She explains why it's hard. Our brains are kind of wired to see failure as a threat, but she offers ways to shift that, like focusing on the specifics. Okay, what didn't work here? What can I adjust? Instead of just, I failed. It changes the question from, am I capable, to what's the lesson here?
That's such a crucial shift. But, easier said than done sometimes. That gut reaction, that cringe when something goes wrong. How do you actually push past that initial feeling?
Right. And that ties into the next big point. Effort matters as much as talent, maybe even more in the long run. Talent might get you in the door, sure. But Dweck shows again and again it's the persistence, the grind, the deliberate effort that's what leads to real mastery. Talent is the starting line, maybe. Effort is the whole race.
So it kind of flips the script on natural ability. Even the most gifted people hit walls.
Yeah.
And it's their mindset about putting in the work that decides if they break through or just stop.
Precisely. And related to that is seeing feedback as fuel. Not as criticism to fear, but as data to use. With a growth mindset, you actually start to want feedback, even the tough stuff, because it helps you improve. It's about asking, how can this make me better, instead of why are they finding fault? Then there's the advice for parents, teachers, managers. Praise the process, not just the result. Focus on the effort, the strategies used, the learning, the perseverance, not just, wow, you got an A or great job, you won. Praising the process builds resilience. It teaches kids or employees that striving and learning are what count. And finally, thinking bigger. Organizations thrive on growth. Companies that build that culture of learning, allow for mistakes, encourage development, they just do better. They outperform the rigid, fixed mindset places.
So when you put it all together, it's clear this isn't just, another self-help trend. It's more like an operating system upgrade for your brain. And that's why this deep dive matters for you listening right now. It helps you spot that sneaky voice of the fixed mindset inside, the one that whispers, you're just not good at math, or don't bother trying, you'll probably fail anyway.
Exactly. And the book fundamentally gives you the psychological toolkit to challenge and replace those limiting thoughts. It helps you build that growth perspective, piece by piece, which really can unlock potential you didn't even know you had. And the beauty is it applies everywhere. If you're a student trying to learn, if you're working, trying to advance, an athlete, a parent, or honestly just anyone wanting to grow as a person, mindset has something really valuable to offer. So in the end, Carol Dweck's mindset isn't just something to read and nod along to. It's really a philosophy to try and live by day to day. The insights are genuinely powerful, practical, and potentially life-changing.
Definitely. And if you've ever looked at someone who bounces back from huge setbacks and wondered how, while maybe someone else with loads of talent seems to just give up easily, well, this deep dive into mindset offers a pretty compelling answer, doesn't it? Once you really grasp these ideas, challenges start to look very, very different. You might find yourself looking at your own potential differently too.